Somebody get a thing of the reorg. No. There's somebody who's with participants too. I want to just make sure. Okay. Yeah, all right. It's and I would like to call to order this meeting of the town board of the town of Northeast. It's January 12th, 2023, as I said, it's 7 o'clock. If you would kindly join me in the pledge of allegiance. Flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Billy, can you conduct a roll call
Supervisor Cannon,
here?
Councilwoman Morrison, here, Councilman Fidele,
Here.
Councilman Midwood,
Here.
Councilman Cooper.
Here. Thank you. I have distributed a copy of the agenda. I'm going to amend the agenda. We're going to remove number 8 regarding the planning board. I would like to ask for a motion to approve the amended agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Yeah, at this time, we take public comment on agenda items only. Not hearing any, I'd like to move along then to my comments. Like to start by welcoming everybody. And wishing everybody a happy new year, welcoming everybody to 2023. I thought I'd just make a couple of comments about the state of the town. Overall, I think the state of the town is good. The town and the village are both moving forward and working hard on a number of fronts to improve the quality of life in our community. Some of the major challenges that we face, one is the lack of a food store. With our low population density, we will not be able to attract a supermarket. However, we still need a food store, and it's a major priority of the town as we learn about potential development in the Boulevard District. Second priority for us is housing. Like so many other communities around us, and for that matter, across the country, there is a major lack of housing here. Workforce housing, affordable housing, moderate income housing, whatever you want to call it, across the range. Very little new housing is being built, and what there is tends to be out of reach for many people. Small towns like ours have few tools at their disposal to address this. The town did receive a grant to look into this, and a copy of our final report and of our toolbox report will be available on the town's website. A third area of focus or priority for the town is jobs, especially for younger people. The lack of employment opportunities is one of the reasons that so many younger people have to move away. And that is something that we think about, especially as we look at the housing problem and the potential commercial development and the priority of commercial development. A fourth is a wastewater system, and a wastewater system would go a long way to help address all of the things that I've just mentioned. which is why a wastewater system is the #1 priority identified in the comprehensive plan. And why it is something which is my #1 priority as I look at the year ahead. Couple of other things. One is that those of you who've been regular attendees at town board meetings know that some years ago, we got a lot of input from residents about the need for speed reduction on Winchell Mountain. It doesn't really speak well of the speed at which government work. But we did receive a letter from New York State today announcing that they had reduced the speed limit on Winchell Mountain Road from 55 to 45 for the entirety of the road from 199 all the way down to Route 22. And I have inquired of the county as to when they're going to be putting up speed limit signs, but this, and I had asked them about this last year, after we had earlier been told that there was going to be a speed reduction that had been approved. In any event, we have it in writing, so hopefully we're going to see some signs go up pretty quickly, I think, on Winchell Mountain. We've also asked for a speed reduction on Route 22. Just in the area from the village up to Sawchuck, particularly because of the traffic we now have with Bilkey Road, with our new highway garage, the construction that's going on there, the increase in some commercial activity up there. So I'm hoping that that's something else that we can achieve. I talked at the last board meeting about or at the reorg, we did not approve the rules of procedure for the town, which relates to the rules that govern our meetings. A draft of the rules has been distributed to the board, and I'm going to ask them to take them and look at them and think about it before we come back for our next meeting. We should hope to approve them at our next meeting. They're not substantially changed from the ones that were placed for this year. Bob, do you have a report for the highway department?
Everything is going well with the highway department. I've been cutting brush, patching, working on equipment, stockpiling sand and stuff. And, occasionally, we've been doing some snow and ice removal.
Not much.
Not much.
Yep, okay, but you're ready,
We're ready.
and
We
I'm
should
sure,
be saving some money on salt at this point, right?
yeah. Well, that's good. You were happy about that. Okay, the new truck is in good shape, is working out well.
It's working very well.
Has it gotten lettered?
Yes, so
Okay, very good.
complete.
And I don't know whether it's since the last board meeting that this happened, but I believe that the old truck, which we put up on auction. I know you reported to the board the successful sale at auction, but it took a while for them to come and get it.
It did take a while, yes. It went all the way to Maine. It drove it all the way to Maine.
Right. But once it left the entranceway to our highway garage, it wasn't our problem.
No,
Okay. All right, thank you, Bob. There is no report from the assessor. Reports from the planning, zoning and building departments have been distributed to the board by the clerk. And we do not have, I don't believe we've had any committee activity in the short week or so since the beginning of the year. And I know that there's no report at this point from the zoning review committee. The next meeting of the zoning committee will be on Monday. At 4:30. Okay. Yes,
Zoning Review Committee, I would just like to report we're making progress.
that's great news. That's great news. Thank you. Actually, that leads into my next item, which is that we have been looking for an attorney to help with the work of the zoning review committee. And members of the committee and I have interviewed a number of people, and I am asking the board for a motion to approve the appointment of David Everett in the firm of Whiteman, Osterman and Hannah as attorney to the zoning review committee.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We received from the county an intermunicipal agreement with the county for rail trail maintenance, and to the best of my knowledge, we haven't had an agreement with the county for rail trail maintenance for some time. I think that they've not sent us one for a while. And when it came here, my first reaction was, we don't maintain the rail trail. That's the county, but we actually do maintain the parking lot at Coleman Station. We plow it and we remove trash from there, and that's really the extent of that intermunicipal agreement. When and if we get a parking lot up at Rudd Pond Road, it will cover that parking lot as well. But other than that, we really do not have major obligations for the rail trail. Yes, Ralph?
Chris, question. The 10-year anniversary of the Irondale Schoolhouse is coming up on December 19th of 2023. Now, do we need some legal agreement with the county to renew that? They've given us the space. It's a not-for-profit. But the 10-year anniversary is up in December of this year.
Ralph, does the county own the building?
No,
No,
we, the Friends of the Irondale Schoolhouse
But
own
the-
the building.
but
They
it's
own,
on,
they own the
rail trail.
land.
right.
Yeah,
Well, they don't own the land. They state
they lease
actually
the
owns
land.
from the state.
Right, exactly. And they're allowing us.
If it comes up in
to use-
December, we have a little bit of time to
Yes,
look into this and work this out.
well, like I said, everything takes time in government, so.
Well, it does.
Oh, yeah.
Warren, that would be, if you could look into that.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Are you saying that we have an agreement, but it's subject to renewal?
Yes, yeah,
So could I get a copy of the existing?
I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
It's probably here.
Uh,
It's probably here.
Okay.
If we could wait till we get to the public comment period, that'd be great. Thank you. Okay. With that, the intermunicipal agreement with the county needs to be approved by the board. And I would entertain a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Second. Okay. I think we need a roll call for this.
Supervisor Cannon,
Aye.
Councilman Cooper,
Aye.
Councilman Pedale,
Aye.
Councilman Midwood,
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison. Aye.
Okay. All right, thank you. Habitat for Humanity. This relates to the purchase of the property owned by the town on Red Pond Road, 6/10 of an acre. And we have been in discussions with Habitat, and we have, I think, an agreement, and maybe Warren, you can bring us up to date on where we are. You've been talking to their attorney.
Well, we have a contract. They signed a contract. They've given us a down payment. Purchase price is $25,000. And so the permissive referendum period has expired. So you can just go ahead and sign. I gave you 2 copies of the contract.
Okay,
If you could sign those in the places indicated, then they have a due diligence period of 60 days from the signing of the contract to determine if the property is suitable for construction of affordable housing or workforce housing project. So if you sign that, give it to me.
Yeah.
I'll send it on to their attorney, and we do have the down payment check in my escrow account.
okay. If Habitat were to determine that they could not proceed with the site, that down payment would revert to the town.
Yes, I would give it back to them.
Or back to them.
Right,
Not to the town.
right. We can't keep the down payment if we're not gonna be able to. But they do have it, we negotiated a provision in the contract that gives them that due diligence period, so they do have an out under the contract if they can't build. So we would not keep the down payment.
Okay, are there any other questions that members of the board have about this? Otherwise, I will go ahead and sign this. Well, I think it's very exciting that this thing has gotten to this point. And I know that we'll be looking forward to hearing how they are able to proceed with this site. As I've mentioned before, I've visited some of this local Habitat for Humanity's projects in Wappinger, in the village of Wappinger, and was very impressed by what they have done. And this is, just for the record, this is Habitat for Humanity of Dutchess County, which is distinct from other Habitat for Humanity efforts, such as the one in Ancramdale. Okay. We are, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to skip on the appointment to the planning board. We are still in the process of conducting interviews and considering applications, so we're going to postpone that. We're almost through this meeting in record time. But before we get to public comment, there is there's one item which is I find a little bit sad, but I should announce, which is that Councilman Cooper has advised the board that he is moving to Connecticut. And therefore is not going to be able to continue on the town board. He is going to be submitting his resignation from the board. And this means, first of all, we will be very sorry to see you leave, and we will miss you, and we appreciate everything that you've contributed to our work during this year. It's been way too short.
I agree.
And this will create an opening on the town board. The opening will be posted and given public notice of the opening on the board. The town will have the ability to appoint somebody to the board for the remainder of this year. And then that person would have the opportunity, should they so choose, to run for the last 2 years of that particular term. In any event, Griff, we're gonna miss you, and I wish it weren't so, but
So do I.
yeah.
And I just want to say that it's in my short time here, it's been an honor to serve with you guys and the public as well. And if possible, I'd love to serve on some of the committees, especially continuing my work in the affordable housing arena. One of the reasons why I no longer be serving on board is with that issue. But my wife and I struggled for more than 2 years to find an affordable place to live in the town, and we tried very hard. So fortunately, came down to a choice, and I had to make it, but it wasn't an easy one. So I could last me in this position, but you certainly haven't seen the last. Yeah.
Well, I think I welcome your expression of interest in helping us in other ways. And we're gonna take advantage of that.
Please do.
Any other members of the board have any comment at this point?
It's been a pleasure serving with you, Griff, and sad to see you go, but I know it's not the last. We'll see you. So
I'm in town.
We'll see you around town.
Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is our public comment period. Any members of the public have? Yes.
I just had a question about the rail trail. I've been writing it for years and I always assumed it was the HRBT and that was it. So the county owns it?
The state owns it.
No,
The town, they contracted with Dutchess County to maintain it. And the Rail Trail Association is a private nonprofit group that promotes it and which publicizes it, raises money to support it and so on, but is not responsible for the maintenance of the trail. The county is. So when they are widening, clearing things, trees that fall down on the trail, patching it, repaving sections, all of those things are done by the county.
who has liability for the legal problems or accidents or? That's the
For
state.
the most, it's a good question. It tends not to be the town. It falls somewhere between the county and the state. And I know that there was a claim filed against the town a few years ago because a bicyclist hit a pebble or a small rock or a little divot in the pavement and filed a claim against the town. We were pleased to find out that the location of the accident was actually in Armenia. But further, it was not, so it was referred, it wasn't Armenia's problem either, it was the county's problem, I think. I don't know, Warren, if you.
I mean, the liability for an accident on the trail would be the person or entity who caused, was responsible for the accident, so. Each case would be decided on the merits of the case, but
Right.
there's no strict liability.
Right.
Anything that happens,
But since
either
the
the county,
town,
municipality or
the town does no maintenance on the trail itself.
Right.
We are, nobody's ever completely immune from somebody wanting to sue, but we're in
When
pretty
people
good
get
shape.
injured, they tend to sue everybody, so
Yeah.
it's all sorted out who's liable for it.
Yeah. But it is primarily the county that maintains the trail.
But we have insurance covered. Or any potential liability from the town.
And yes,
Yeah, I have a question or a statement about the housing, needless to say. First of all, I don't know if Griff could be a part of the zoning review committee with his experience and the fact that he's still alive in the Northeast Community Center in town. I'd also like to promote the assignment or the finding of somebody for the zoning review committee or for the zoning board that is familiar with the housing regulations and how the zoning code might be more helpful to our extraordinary need. And given the governor's announcement yesterday that she'd like to see 800,000 housing units in the next 10 years, how well prepared are we to ask for some of those? Not at all. Not at all. We don't have even any collaboration between the village and the town in terms of how we're going to get the housing sort of energized. And maybe that's my fault because we started the Tri-Town Coalition. So we don't have an affiliation. We don't have any agency to advocate ourselves. But I think that it's high time now, and it was high time a year ago, or when the comprehensive plan was published, that the town and the village get together with a housing committee And we still haven't seen that, so I desperately need that in order to get to proceed with what, how effective we could be as a working group. We're working pretty hard, and the expo, which we're planning on, is scheduled for the end of February. And we'll be sending out notifications and invitations for people to attend, as well as to sponsor the activities. Again, that's problematic because we're not 501c3, so in order to get any contributions, we go to it with a fiscal advisor, which so far has been Townscape.
Okay,
I'd like to know from anybody on the committee, I mean, on the town board, what your response is to my plea, because it's quite often that I make this thought, but I don't get any response. And see what we can do. There are numerous solutions that are out there that towns are doing, particularly with zoning review, particularly with zoning that uses a different kind of way of dividing up and writing regulations that's form-based as opposed to property-based. And that's happening all over the country now. And actually, the mayor of Kingston just made an announcement of that in terms of how they're going to change the code to accept smaller lots, more dense housing. And that's really the only way we're going to save ourselves, because the lack of property, the land, and the need for a denser, cheaper piece of property, as well as collective cooperation amongst a cluster of people, so that you're not paying for all the land, or you're not paying for all the heat, whatever. That collaboration is also, and taxes are also down if you're using a tight cluster of people. So we're learning more and more, and we're hopefully have the opportunities to tell more people about it at the end of February, and between then and now. So I actually was attending, as you know, Chris, the meeting last night of the Militant Association, and they are very eager to have us talk at their next meeting about what they're planning and what the options are. So things are moving along, and we're looking hard for people who will join the group and be advocates and trained. And that would be another thing about planning. How much training is our planning board having in terms of zoning? How much planning, how much is the ZRC? How much is the ZRC getting in the way of training in terms of alternative zoning regulations?
Well, Sam, just the fact that the town has worked on this 1/4 acre on Red Pond Road is an indication that we are trying to address that need
Right.
for
And
affordable
I
housing.
credit for that, because I reminded Chris that property was available a 1.5 years ago, so I'm very pleased to see that.
Well, so we've acted on that recommendation.
Yeah, that's great.
that was the only municipally owned piece of land that we have on which anything could be done for housing. So unlike Kingston, we are a little bit different from Kingston.
Oh, yeah.
Kingston has a lot of municipally owned land where multifamily housing can be built, all kinds of things can be done. We don't have any, and we're pretty different that way.
But in terms of.
We're waiting to find out from the governor exactly how 800,000 units of housing are going to be created. It's so far simply been a statement, aspirational, from the executive office in Albany of a desire to create 800,000 units of housing. And we can indicate that we're ready we're ready for information, and we are ready for information, and we're looking forward to learning what they're proposing for smaller rural communities. Such as ours, and that's something that, you know, I find. Very frustrating is the sense that we are the same as Wappinger or Poughkeepsie or East Fishkill. Or anything else. I've been focused on, excuse me, I've been focused on. The challenge for a small rural community of a wastewater system. There are certain fixed costs of a wastewater system that don't really change. By the size of the community. So a larger community is able to spread those fixed costs over a much larger number of people than a small little rural community. It's something that I want to talk to the state about because it actually penalizes small towns very much because the basic cost of a plant gets spread across a very small number of people. So it's, you know, we're working on trying to solve that riddle, but it is similar with housing and what we did last year, and I do think that we have not been asleep at the switch here. We spent the better part of the year working on understanding what the tools are for small rural communities like ours in creating housing and understanding what they were, especially for towns that don't own land in which new housing could be constructed. We have finished that. That is what I referred to earlier, something that's going to be on the website. Yeah, we can create a committee with the village. And, you know, if I sound a little bit sanguine about, you know, the benefit of that, I've tried with the village. The village has indicated they're not interested in doing that. So, you know, it's hard to create a committee. It's hard to have a partnership with a partner who doesn't want to be a partner. Now we can go back to them and see whether that has changed, but from my last conversation with the mayor, this was not something that the village was looking to embark on. So we will do what we can to find out how to be, you know, prepared for what might be directed, probably through the county, at small towns from the state. I don't think we're, you know, I don't think we're going to see anything very, very soon, but this is a problem for us. It is a priority for us. I just want to make sure that whatever effort we make in this area is aimed at a result. I just want to make sure that we're aimed at actually doing something that produces, has the effect of producing an increase in housing. Because we've talked about it a lot, and I think we can talk about it a lot more, but I would like to see it.
Well, I don't think we can count on the county or the state to come up with a solution that doesn't have to do with zoning. Because that's the solution, to make more smaller lots and put that in our code to make it incentivize a large landowner to separate out a half a dozen acres for property. As they buy it or as they want to build a $1 million, $3 million house, that kind of thing is possible, and it doesn't have to do with. It has to do with regulations with the regulations of the zoning code, not the state. The other thing is, I know that Dee Barrett and Michelle Hinchey are working on this. The problem that you mentioned, which is that there's too much infrastructure costs and there's too little taxes in such rural areas, and they're looking to have a section in the housing and renewal call outs for specifically for rural areas, assuming that it's going to be more extensive, which means waste management and other things. The other thing is that what we're discovering in our examination of affordable housing in clusters is that you don't need a waste management system for 180 homes. You can do it with 6 homes, and that's a whole lot less expensive with the shared costs and the size and the distribution. than a single septic system for each house. So there are all kinds of different ways through the zoning and through the sharing of energy and infrastructure that are out there, they're being implemented. And that is in small areas, small rural areas. And since the state is made up of, 80% of the counties have municipalities that are rural. That this is something that has been long overdue. And we talked to one of the people in HCR about that. They've never really focused on that. So I think Michelle and Dee Dee are working hard at it. And after now election occurred, they asked us questions about it before the elections, and then there was a dead time, and then Michelle got elected and he got reelected. So I just actually emailed them today to see how they were doing on that, picking that back up again. And now with Hochul, Governor Hochul taking on the 800,000, maybe we can get something out of HCR, which is specific for rural areas. And that would be the kind of advocacy that we can on for the town and the village, not something that they would be fiscally responsible for. It's just the makeup of the code and the makeup of the grants to or subsidies from the state.
Well, thank you. If any information you have that you've received that I may not have seen about how they're planning to allocate some of this towards rural communities would be very interesting to me. And if you see an opportunity for us to advocate with the state, with either Senator Hinchey or Assemblywoman Barrett, I'd be more than happy to do that, because I think we need advocates for us. Particularly if we can identify a channel which is going to result in funds flowing towards something that is buildable at the local level.
That's what we're working on.
Yeah, okay.
And certainly I wouldn't hesitate to call Edie and see what progress she's been making.
Yeah, I've already met with her once since the beginning of the year, so we're in pretty close touch.
Vanessa would know that, I don't remember her last name, but she would be the person in charge of this particular aspect.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Bill Kish.
Hi. Thanks for introducing me. I'm going to introduce myself. First of all, I'd like to say thank you, Griff. Thank you. It was great having you here, and I wish you best of luck. If I start having a coughing fit, then I'll stop talking. First, I have a question. Is the town entering into, or the board entering into an executive session or attorney-client session?
Yes, we will be,
For the purposes of?
for discussing potential litigation involving the town.
Okay. Thank you. So,
I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that in the beginning, that we were planning to do that.
this is kind of writing on what Sam said, but it's, Sam's discussion, brings to mind something that's been bothering me lately, which is that, I've noticed an increasing number of very, very large homes being built in this community. Now, large homes, you can have whatever feeling you have about them. I personally feel that when people build 10,000 square foot house, that they're wasting resources that are becoming increasingly in tight supply, they're wasting energy, etc. But it also speaks to inequity and disparity in the town, and speaks to what we've identified in the comprehensive plan as being what the people who live in the town really appreciate about it, which is that it is a small town, that it is not a New York City, bedroom community, that it's not, it's not a haven for wealthy people to have their second homes. And I don't begrudge them their second homes, you know, my family came here because of a second home, but it seems like we should be looking at ways in which we can have a more equitable type of situation. And I don't know whether there's a legal basis or a desire from anybody to try to, you know, disincentivize building in large homes. But at the very least, we could get something for the town from the people who decide that they want to build an unreasonably large house. And I'm wondering if it is legal for the town to create essentially an exponential fee schedule for building permits, so that smaller homes are basically subsidized in terms of their building permit costs, but once you get to a certain size, it starts going up very fast. And I've spoken to some people about this, and everybody says, well, that's not going to stop anyone from building a large home because they already have a ton of money. They're going to build a large home anyway. But hey, you know, if we can collect additional fees from those people and we can use that money to help fund the sewer, to help to keep the taxes down for the rest of the community, to help perhaps build some affordable homes, or perhaps in some way, as Sam indicated, you know, tie construction of a certain piece of affordable housing to houses over a certain size, then at least there would be a little bit of equitability in that. I'm not sure, you know, how you all feel about that. When I kind of see kind of like a look on your face, like, the hell is Bill talking about? But,
No, I
uh,
agree that we should have some affordable housing for people and it shouldn't be all big homes. We've talked about this numerous times.
So is this something?
Bill, I
that-
just would like you, if you would, address the board as board, not individual members.
Sure, Chris.
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean to address you.
You
All
can
right.
address me all the time.
So board, what do you think? Good idea?
How tenable is it? Is it?
Yeah,
is that-
Bill, I
You
think,
can't do that.
yeah, I mean, but you know, let's find out what the
You
legal
can't do that
ability is.
through a building permit fee for larger homes, because the building permit is supposed to be reflective, the amount of the building permit is supposed to be reflective of the administrative cost to the town in administering that permit, and you can't base it on the size of the home. So that's been declared illegal.
But
But we
Warren,
want to
question.
look at some affordable housing, and we did the comprehensive plan and zoning law in Rhinebeck in 2009. I was pretty much drafted it. We have a fair amount of affordable housing, workforce housing provisions in the Rhinebeck code that you might want to take a look at when you're doing your zoning revision. The town is now potentially benefiting from that, and that we have a developer coming into the town. We have an application under those provisions for an 80-unit workforce housing project in the town. So I would urge the committee and you to take a look at what we did in Rhinebeck. It's
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I
far
read that- I
panning
read
out
that
pretty
code,
well.
I know about that, yeah, piece of property.
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate enough to get some property donated there from the hospital. And there's some grants involved in it. You have to have a lot of things come together. But it's good to have those provisions in the code so that you can take advantage of it. The opportunity presents itself. So take a look at what we have in.
So
Rhinebeck.
Warren, a question I have that responds really to what Bill was asking about. I believe that it's in New York City, that there is a special tax that is put on properties that sell for, I think it's sort of $1 million
It's called a mansion tax.
mansion tax. Is
Yeah.
there, is
It's
that?
it's not only in New York City,
It's here,
It's in
too.
New York State.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a different tax in New York City. But.
Is that
yes,
something that municipalities can,
But we don't get the benefit. You pay that that goes to the state. So anything over $1 million, there's a 1% mansion tax that's charged, and it's actually a sliding scale depending on the value, the way you know, the
It really speaks
the
to,
cost of the house, so it's $1.5 million, it's a little higher than that.
really speaks to New York State.
Yeah, but
The way things are
we
done
don't
here,
get
the
it.
the benefit does not go to the
I mean,
municipality.
you know, it trickles down to us, but it doesn't, but we don't get the benefit of that,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
So is there something that can legally be done under the auspices of the town along the lines of what I was talking about? Which brings the benefit to the town as a whole for people who build. Beaches?
Well, this is something you might want to just hire an attorney to advise the zoning review committee. I think we should be working with that attorney to put provisions in the code when you make
Yeah.
recommendations for the amendment to the code.
There are, I'm thinking of what happened in Amelia with Cyber Ridge. Now, that was a development which required a lot of permits. And as part of that negotiation, they agreed to provide a certain amount of affordable housing, which then turned into, they agreed to provide some funds to, they gave funds to the town, which I think have turned out to be either non-existent or, very, very modest. But anyway, but that is an example of where somebody coming in for a fairly significant set of variances or of a special project. Where the town was in a position to essentially negotiate with that property owner for some things.
Yeah, I don't know how much, I don't represent the planning board anymore, but so I don't know how much it's going on, but you can. What we have in Rhinebeck, we have it in Pine Plains also, there's a fee that's affordable, you know, a workforce housing fee that's charged. That you have to even provide 10% of your subdivisions over a certain amount. Or construction over a certain amount, development over a certain amount. You have to provide either for affordable housing units or a fee in lieu of affordable housing units. So, you know, we have it in Pine Plains too. You might want to take a look at what we have in Pine Plains.
I think that the point that Bill was making, which I would echo, is when those things actually benefit the town. And when those, you know, that is something that I think is an important difference.
Yeah.
You need to be wary of. Yes,
I
Edie.
just want to clarify, you're talking about subdivision code.
Yes, it would be for subdivision or for
Because
development.
Bill's point was, somebody has 75 acres and puts one big huge house up.
Well, affordable housing fee, you know, in our statutes are charged for subdivisions also, they apply. to-
Right, but are they charged on big single families?
No,
Is that a
no,
possibility?
there's no tax, there's
Yeah.
no local tax on large.
Okay.
things.
Thank you.
There may be.
Well, I think we'll look into it and certainly will be, you know, asking our attorneys both for the planning board and for the ZRC for their input on this as well. I think some of, you know, I share Bill's concern about the discrepancy and the growing discrepancy between great wealth and a lot of struggle that people have in our community. And I think we should be looking for ways that are doable and which can provide tangible benefit to people who live in our town. I think that's, to me, is what's really important, is where it's not symbolic or it's as much of a statement, but rather actually impacts on the lives of people here. And I'm very interested in anything that could do that.
Norman, do you know anybody that's a lawyer that is specializes in that in zoning and this kind of thing?
Well, I think Mr. Everett should be capable of having.
It's hold on.
I know him, you know.
All right, any other comments? All right, supervisors report. Yeah. I have a special abstract dated December 21, 2022, totaling $1,000 broken down as follows. A fund, $1,000. Can I have a motion to accept the special abstract?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's approved. I have a special abstract dated December 22nd, 2022, totaling $11,432.38, broken down as follows. A fund, $2,359. DB fund, $9,073.38. Do I have a motion to accept that special abstract?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? It's approved. I have an abstract dated December 31, 2022, totaling $78,407.30, broken down as follows. A fund, $17,446.77. B fund, $715.43. DB fund, $53,072.89. Capital projects H1, $6,814.01. TNA two escrow, $210. Payroll TNA, $148.20. Could I have a motion to accept that abstract?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We can start passing these
Yeah,
around.
that's it.
You can find where to sign. I have an abstract dated January 12th, 2023. Totaling $49,347.11, broken down as follows. A fund, $37,040.58. B fund, $295. DB fund, $11,755.30. Payroll TNA, $256.23. Could I have a motion to accept that abstract?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Approved. I have a budget adjustment number 10 for 2022 of January 12th. A fund, an expense increase of $14,635, less an expense decrease of $14,635 for a net of zero. I have in B fund, an expense increase of $1,124, less an expense decrease of $1,124 for a net of zero. And in DB fund, I have an expense increase of $19,000, less an expense decrease of $19,000 for a net of zero. Are there any questions about the budget adjustment? And if not, could I have a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. All right, let me get back to where I was. Voucher committee for February 23. John Midwood and Lana Morrison. Minutes have been sent to the board by Tilly from the meetings of December 8th and of last year and January 3 of this year. Could I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Opposed? All in favor? They're approved. And that brings us to the end of our regular meeting. We are going to now, I'm going to ask the board for a motion to enter into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we will now be going into executive sessions.
You're welcome.
Sure, let's do a roll call for the purpose of entering into executive session.
Supervisor Cannon,
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison,
Bye.
Councilman Fidel,
Aye.
Councilman Cooper,
Aye.
Councilman Midwood.
Aye.
Okay, we're now going to go into executive session, so you can be
Thank you
excused.
both.
Thank you both
Thank
Thank
you.
very much for everything you do for the town.